Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Welcome all to today's reading from Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita, Madhya Lila, chapter number 22, verse number 149. We shall be continuing our reading from Mukam Karoti Vachalam Pangum Langayate Girim Yat Kripa Tamham Vande Shri Gurum Deen Tarinam Paramananda Madhavam Shri Chaitanya Ishwaram Hari Om Tat Sat. So we've been reading from chapter 22. It's all about the devotional process of devotional service rather. Verse 149. Ragatmika bhakti mukhya vraja vasi jane tar anugat bhaktir raganuga name. So far up to verse 148, we've been reading about the Vaidhi Bhakti, or the Bhakti with the rules and regulations, which all of us do. Now we will be reading about the Ragatmika Bhakti, the spontaneous devotional service. The translation of this verse is: the original inhabitants of Vrindavan are attached to Krishna spontaneously in devotional service. Nothing can compare to such spontaneous devotional service, which is called Ragatmika Bhakti. When a devotee follows in the footsteps of the devotees of Vrindavan, his devotional service is called Raganuga Bhakti. So, Ragatmika Bhakti is followed by the devotees of Vrindavan, the inhabitants of Vrindavan. They just do it so easily because they have got the right to it, because they have been born in Vrindavan. And rest of us, we start with the rules and regulations. We do the Vaidhi Bhakti. We followed with the Vidhis and Vidhans. And then when a devotee later on, they follow in the footsteps of the devotees of Vrindavan, then their Bhakti is called Raganuga Bhakti. Purport by His Divine Grace, Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. In his Bhakti Sandarbha, Jiva Goswami states, Tad evam tad abhiman lakshan bhav visheshena swabhavik ragasya vaishishyate sati tad rag prayukta shravana kirtan smarana pad sevana vandanatma nivedana praya bhakti satesham ragatmika bhaktir iti uchyate tatas tadiyam ragam Ruchya anugachanti sa raganuga. When a pure devotee follows the footsteps of a devotee in Vrindavan, he develops Raganuga Bhakti. So when you're following in the footsteps, you become a Raganuga, because you're following the footsteps of a devotee of Vrindavan who is doing the Ragatmika Bhakti. Verse 150. Ishte swarsiki ragah parama vishtata bhavet tanmai ya bhaved bhakti satra ragatmiko dita. When one becomes attached to the Supreme Personality of Godhead according to one's natural inclination to love Him and is fully absorbed in thoughts of the Lord, that state is called transcendental attachment, and devotional service according to that attachment is called Ragatmika, or spontaneous devotional service. Purport: this verse is found in the Bhakti Rasamrit Sindhu 1.2.272. Moving on to verse number 151. Ishte Gadha Trishna Ragera Swarupa Lakshana Ishte Avishtata Ei Tatastha Lakshana. Tatastha is the marginal. The primary characteristic of spontaneous love is deep attachment for the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Absorption in thought of Him is a marginal characteristic. Verse 152. Ragamai bhaktir haya ragatmika nama taha shuni labdha haya kaun bhagyavan. Thus, devotional service, which consists of raga, which is deep attachment, is called Ragatmika, spontaneous loving service. If a devotee covets such a position, he is considered to be most fortunate. verse 153. Lobhe vraja vasira bhave kare anugati, shastra yukti nahi mane, raga nugara gar prakriti. If one follows in the footsteps of the inhabitants of Vrindavan out of such transcendental covetousness, he does not care for the injunctions or reasonings of Shastra, that is the way of spontaneous love. Purport Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur says that a devotee is attracted by the service of the inhabitants of Vrindavan, namely the cowherd men, Maharaj Nanda, Mother Yashoda, Radharani, the gopis, and the cows and calves. An advanced devotee is attracted by the service rendered by an eternal servitor of the Lord. This attraction is called spontaneous attraction. Technically, it is called Swarupa Uplabdhi. This stage is not achieved in the beginning. In the beginning, one has to render service strictly according to the regulative principles set forth by the revealed scriptures and the spiritual master. By continuously rendering service through the process of Vaidhi Bhakti, one's natural inclination is gradually awakened. That is called spontaneous attraction or Raganuga Bhakti. An advanced devotee situated on the platform of spontaneity is already very expert in Shastric instruction, logic and argument. When he comes to the point of eternal love for Krishna, no one can deviate him from that position, neither by argument nor by Shastric evidence. An advanced devotee has realized his eternal relationship with the Lord, and consequently he does not accept the logic and arguments of others. Such an advanced devotee has nothing to do with the Sahajiyas. My page flipped over, so I'm coming back to it. So such a advanced devotee has nothing to do with the Sahajiyas who manufacture their own way and commit sins by indulging in illicit sex, intoxication and gambling. If not meat eating, sometimes the Sahajiyas imitate advanced devotees and live in their own whimsical way, avoiding the principles set down in the revealed scriptures. Unless one follows the 6 Goswamis, that is Sri Rupa, Sanatan, Raghunath Bhatta, Sri Jiva, Gopal Bhatt and Raghunath Das, one cannot be a bona fide spontaneous lover of Krishna. In this connection, Srila Narottam Das Thakur says, Rupa Raghunath Pade Haibe Akuti Kabe Hama Bujaba Se Yugala Piriti. The Sahajiyas' understanding of the love affairs between Radha and Krishna is not bona fide because they do not follow the principles laid down by the 6 Goswamis. Their illicit connections and their imitation of the dress of Rupa Goswami, as well as their avoidance of the prescribed methods of revealed scriptures, will lead them to the lowest regions of hell. These imitative Sahajiyas are cheated and unfortunate. They are not equal to advanced devotees, that is the Paramhamsas. Debauchees and Paramhamsas are not on the same level. Verse 154. Virajantim abhivyaktam vrajavasi janadishu ragatmikam anushrita yasa raguna gochete. Devotional service and spontaneous love is vividly expressed and manifested by the inhabitants of Vrindavan. Devotional service that accords with their devotional service is called Raganuga Bhakti, or devotional service following in the wake of spontaneous loving service. Purport: this verse is also found in the Bhakti Samrit Sindhu 1.2.270. Moving to verse number 155. Tat tad bhavadi madhurye shute dhir yad apekshate natra shastram nayuktim cha tal lobhot patti lakshanam. When an advanced devotee, realized devotee, hears about the affairs of the devotees of Vrindavan in the mellows of Shant, Dasya, Sakhya, Vatsalya and Madhurya, he becomes inclined in one of these ways, and his intelligence becomes attracted. Indeed, he begins to covet that particular type of devotion. When such covetousness is awakened, one's intelligence no longer depends on the instructions of Shastra revealed scriptures or on logic and argument. Purport: this verse is also found in the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu 1.2.292, verse 156 and 157. They're together here. Bahya antara ihar dui sadhana बाह्य साधक देहे करे श्रवण कीर्तन माने निज सिद्ध देह करिया भावन रात्रि दिने करे व्रजे कृष्णेर सेवन. These are two processes by which one may execute this Raganuga Bhakti, external and internal. When self-realized soul, the advanced devotee, externally remains like a neophyte and executes all the Shastric injunctions, especially those concerning hearing and chanting. But within his mind, in his original purified self-realized position, he serves Krishna in Vrindavan. In his particular way, he serves Krishna 24 hours a day, all day and night. So this is so beautiful. The purport, the translation of this verse, that the two processes by which one may execute the Raganuga Bhakti, it's external and internal. So externally, they may remain like a neophyte and execute all the Shastric injunctions, but internally, in the mind, in his original and purified self-realized position, they serve the Lord in Vrindavan in his particular way. They serve him 24 hours a day, all day and night. Verse 158. Seva sadhaka rupena siddha rupena chatrahi tad bhava lipsuna karya vraja lokanu sarataha. The advanced devotee who is inclined to spontaneously loving service should follow the activities of a particular associate of Krishna's in Vrindavan. He should execute service externally as a regulative devotee as well as internally from his self-realized position. Thus, he should perform devotional service both externally and internally. Purport: this verse is also from Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu 1.2.295. Verse number 159. निजाभीष्ट कृष्ण प्रेष्ठ पाचेता लागिया निरंतर सेवा करे अंतरमना hena. Actually, the inhabitants of Vrindavan are very dear to Krishna. If one wants to engage in spontaneous loving service, he must follow the inhabitants of Vrindavan and constantly engage in devotional service within his mind. Verse 160. Krishnam smarana janam chasya preshtham nija samhitam tat katha ratash chasau kuryad vasam vraje sada. Preshtham is very dear. The devotee should always think of Krishna within himself and should choose a very dear devotee who is a servitor of Krishna in Vrindavan. One should constantly engage in topics about that servitor and his loving relationship with Krishna. And one should live in Vrindavan. If one is physically unable to go to Vrindavan, he should mentally live there. Purport: this verse is also found in the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu 1.2.294. Verse 161. Das sakha pitradhi prayasir gana rag marge nija nija bhaver ganana. Krishna has many types of devotees. Some are servants, some are friends, some are parents, and some are conjugal lovers. Devotees who are situated in one of these attitudes of spontaneous love according to their choice are considered to be on the path of spontaneous loving service. So we can see you can be attached to any path, whether it is as a servant or friend or parent or conjugal lover of the Lord. But when your attitude is of spontaneous love, then you are on a path of spontaneous loving service or the Raganuga Bhakti, just like the when you the Vrindavan Vasis, when you're following in, this is the bhakti, when you're following in their footsteps. Verse 162, Na karhichin mat paraha shant rupe nan kshanti nome nimisho ledhi heti yesham aham priya atma sutascha sakha guru surido daivam ishtam. My dear Mother Devahuti, O emblem of peace, my weapon, the disc of time never vanquishes those for whom I am very dear, for whom I am the supersoul, son, friend, spiritual master, well-wisher, worshipable deity and desired goal. Since the devotees are always attached to me, they are never vanquished by the agents of time. Purport. This was spoken by Kapil Dev to his mother Devahuti and is recorded in Srimad Bhagavatam 3.25.38. Kapil Deva instructed his mother Devahuti in Sankhya Yoga, but the importance of Bhakti Yoga is mentioned here. Later, Sankhya Yoga was imitated by atheists whose system was founded by a different Kapil Dev, which is the Rishi Kapil Deva. And sometimes there's confusion between the two. Verse 163, Pati Putra Surid Bratrir Pitravan Mitravad Dharim Ye Dhyayanti Sadod Yuktas Tebhyo Piha Namo Namaha. Let me offer my respectful obeisances again and again to those who always eagerly meditate upon the Supreme Personality of Godhead as a husband, son, friend, brother, father, or intimate friend. Purport. This verse appears in the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu 1.2.308. Verse 164. E mata kare yeba raganuga bhakti krishnera charane tandra upjaya priti. If one engages in spontaneous loving service to the Lord, his affection for the lotus feet of Krishna gradually increases. Verse 165. Priti ankure rati bhav haya dui nama yaha haite vasha hana Shri Bhagwan. In the seed of affection, there is attachment which goes by two names, Rati and Bhav. The Supreme Personality of Godhead comes under the control of such attachment. Purport. Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur comments on this verse. Externally, a devotee performs all the items of devotional service in 9 different ways, beginning with Shravan and Kirtan, and within his mind he always thinks of his eternal relationship with Krishna and follows in the footsteps of the devotees of Vrindavan. If one engages himself in the service of Radha and Krishna in this way, he can transcend the regulative principles enjoined in the Shastras and through his spiritual master fully engage in rendering spontaneous love to Krishna. In this way, he attains affection of the lotus feet of Krishna. Krishna actually comes under the control of such spontaneous feelings, and ultimately one can attain association with the Lord. So, Rati is attachment and Bhava is emotion. So when you have attachment and emotion for the Lord, then Lord automatically comes under your control because you have got a special relationship with the Lord. Verse 166. Yaha haite pati krishnera prema sevana aita kahilun abhideya vivarana. That by which one can attain loving service to the Lord I have described in detail as the execution of devotional service called Abhideya. Abhideya is the description of the means. Sambandh is the relationship. Abhideya is the means how to do the relationship, the process, and Prayojan is the goal. Verse 167. Abhideya sadhana bhakti eve kahilun sanatana sankshepe kahilun vistara nayaya varanana. My dear Sanatana, I have briefly described the process of devotional service and practice, which is the means for obtaining love of Krishna. It cannot be described broadly. Verse 168. Abhideya sadhana bhakti shune ye jana achirat prapaya se Krishna premadhana. Whoever hears this description of the pros of practical devotional service very soon attains shelter at the lotus feet of Krishna in love and affection. Verse 169. Shri Rupa Raghunath Pade Yar Ash Chaitanya Charitamrit Kahe Krishna Das. Praying at the lotus feet of Shri Rupa and Shri Raghunath, always desiring their mercy, I, Krishna Das, narrate Shri Chaitanya Charitamrit following the footsteps. Thus end the Bhaktivedanta purpose to Shri Chaitanya Charitamrit, Madhya Lila, 22nd chapter, describing the execution of devotional service. So we have finished chapter number 22. Next we'll be reading about we'll be starting actually chapter number 23, Life's Ultimate Goal, Love of Godhead. So I will read the summary of this chapter. Actually, I will do it next time. So thank you for joining. Hari Om Tat Sat. Hare Krishna. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Krishna's Kaviraj Goswami ki jai. Samaved Bhaktivinoda ki jai. Gaura Premanande. Hari Hari Bol.